So the reason for telling you this story is very simple. I've always looked for trouble, professionally speaking, so I can grow. The most important aspect is communicating clearly and honestly and sincerely that, hey, I want to do this, and I will try my best, and actually do this. You just don't talk; you deliver the talk. If I am going to ask for an assignment, I better make sure that even if I don't know, I will learn. So I read like crazy and talk to people who have done it. So there's one place I tell my kids, I've got 3 grown-up kids, there's one place there's no competition. It's called hard work. You can beat anybody. So you can have all the talent, but if you're not going to work, you're going to achieve anything. One thing I'll tell you, people should not do, pretend or position themselves as an expert. You stop learning. The only part of ego which works in my professional life is the hunger for learning. All of us have ego. It's a God-given gift. You can use it negatively or positively.
Hello, guys. So, welcome again with another podcast. And here today, I have my dear friend Syed Irfan. So, I know Irfan through a career coaching group that we manage and we run on LinkedIn. But after connecting with him through that group, I got to know about him a little bit more. And one great thing about him is that he's had a global career. So today we are here to talk about his global career. How did he achieve it? What were the learnings? And what would he do differently? And for all the young folks out there who are listening to take inspiration and see if there is anything that they can apply for themselves and learn. Anyways, Irfan Saab, I'll pass it on to you. And if you can quickly share your personal journey and how it kind of led to your stellar career, a global career, stellar global career. So if you can talk about that journey, and let's start with that first.
Thank you, Rose. That's an amazing introduction. Thank you so much. I will say it was pure accident. I'm just kidding. Let me take you back almost 4 decades ago. We graduated in electronics. I was 21. We went to a meal and about 25 friends and everybody asked me, what do you want to do when you grow up? We were very young. And I said, no, I'll ask you guys. So everybody talked about, having a career as people became doctors, lawyers, some started their businesses, and et cetera, et cetera. When my turn came, which was the last, and I said, I just want to travel. That was the goal. And in between traveling, I will learn what I need to learn. From electronics, so that was the beginning of the journey. I still travel, enjoy traveling. And here, the quote Mark Twain, traveling is very dangerous for a bigoted mind. So I never wanted to be a bigot. So God has been very kind. Electronics, then toyed around with some IT. My first accounting job was really in 1990 for JP Morgan as one of the 200 person nobody knew about in London Docklands. And I worked there for 2 years. And from there, I moved to a manufacturing company, a pharmaceutical company. It is, so I don't know whether you remember, they had JD Edwards mainframe computers with green perforated papers printing reports. You're young, I don't know whether you've seen them or not. I did. They're like 18 inches across and 12 inches wide, and you had all the data line, green and yellow lines. Anyway, my job was, as one of the 45 accountants, is take that data. There were 7 departments. I was in charge of, I was assisting the manager of oncology department. Take the data, put it on Lotus, the predecessor of Excel. And just the month end was 3 weeks. So I went to my manager. I still remember her name, Anna. And I said, no, are we not wasting our time? Can I automate that? And she said, can you? I said, absolutely. And I can tell you right now, I had an idea. I didn't know how to do it. And they said, okay. Then she introduced me to her manager, Barbara. And she said, okay, but you still have to do your day job. I was like 24 then. I said, sure. I was working 15, 17 hours a day. I was learning how to do macros in Lotus, and then how to pull JD Edwards. So I had to get the IT guy to talk to me, tell me. So the reason for telling you this story is very simple. I've always looked for trouble, professionally speaking, so I can grow. And I've been very, very fortunate and lucky to have my senior allowed me the space and the bandwidth. So they, okay, and it came with a lot of determination, but at the same time wanted to learn, wanted to do something bigger than what I'm doing. So 9 months later, I have automated the whole thing. I got so I joined. I remember February. By December, I'm having lunch with the CEO of a $1.4 billion company, Michelle Potra, and I thought, wow, it's because of taking that initiative, right? Uh, and from then, I in UK is a very different market than Canada. I don't know much about US. Very different market. They enjoy the fact that you bring a lot of different experiences to the table, and your core strength, my core strength is finance. So I was constantly asking for challenging assignments. I left that company. I ended up with in a hotel group, set up an accounting department, and cut a long story short. Between 1990 and 2000, I was working for PR for 7 years, setting up things, all the time asking for other things. The, then I got an assignment. I asked, can I go overseas? I was sent to Nigeria, working for a Nigerian group in London. And 3 years, I did NetSuite, 175 users, 7 countries, 2 years, 8 months, a lot of learning. So, in a nutshell, I constantly look for challenges to grow myself. I wasn't satisfied saying, okay, now I'm an accountant, now I'm an electronic engineer. And then very fortunate, lucky to have people who allowed me to grow like that. And I'm still like that. Ask my wife. I hope that sort of answered the question.
No, it does, and thanks for sharing that journey. I just want to have one reflection with regards to the point you made, which is looking for troubles. And I've realized in my career as well, and people I've seen succeeding, is if you find what your manager is not good at, or your team is not good at, and they're having troubles or challenges with something, and you just fix that for them. You take up that, because usually, see, we are also looking for some very high-fi, some very high quality work, and it's not about that. It's about something which is a pain point. If you can identify the pain point, take it up, fix it, and suddenly you'll make a big mark with your manager, with your team, and those small marks add up to become big, and as you said, it ended up taking you up and up. So yeah, I completely
Yeah,
agree and
absolutely
subscribe to
agree.
that.
Yeah, really. So you're absolutely right. But what I was looking for issues in the job that I was doing and how I can make it better, easier, and it just grew from there. Um, I, one other thing I'll tell you in the journey from there to here really is the most important aspect is communicating clearly and honestly and sincerely that, hey, I want to do this, and I'll try my best, and actually do this. You just don't talk, you deliver the talk, really. So yes, recognizing and talking to managers, and as I said earlier, very very fortunate to have found the 2 people I would like to mention. I hope they if they ever see this video, Paul and David, Paul Downs and David Simonson from Merlin. I grew up from boy to man in that company for 7 years. I did everything you can possibly imagine: IT, legal, contract negotiation, office move, and on my day job of a financial controller, stroke financial advisor. So yeah, uh, you know, find a point and try to solve it.
So, Irfan Sahib, you use the word fortunate a couple of times, and that kind of goes you being humble as well and showing some gratitude as well. But someone listening to this, let's say someone who doesn't have a global career, just starting, maybe in Pakistan, wants to move abroad, and doesn't have the means or the kind of fortune you had, or being fortunate enough, or thinks they're not fortunate enough, like someone like you, what would be the message to them, if any, which is, how do you create luck? How do you become fortunate? How do you become lucky? And I know there is an element of everyone is dealt a hand, a different hand. But is there a way, if I am dealt a bad hand, how do I overcome that?
That's a very interesting question, really, because I grew up in Pakistan in the 70s. I came to England in 1980. Um, I never felt that I was dealt a bad hand. but I did feel that I didn't have that skill or that skill. So the way I would address that, or at least I addressed it when I was growing up professionally, was I pinpointed my deficiencies and each job, what I don't know. I still don't know corporate tax. I can talk about it a little bit, but I don't have a deeper understanding, and I don't want to know really. So I said, okay, I want to do what I really enjoy. So I focused on that. When I said fortunate and lucky, if I am going to ask for an assignment, I better make sure that even if I don't know, I will learn. So I read like crazy and talk to people who have done it. So, like networking and reading, things like that. But most importantly, there's one thing I'll tell you how you learn. Keep your ego behind you about a million miles, because you'll be asked to do, regardless of your title. As a CFO, I have done bank reconciliation, which you don't do. But I said, no, let me just finish this. As a financial controller, I was asked to do something I've never done, negotiate with the bank. Financial controllers don't do that. So I was reverse osmosing, if you think about it. I was punching way above my weight when I was growing up and going backwards when I was supposedly enjoying the CFO role. Uh, my advice would be to have a hunger to have a goal where you want to go and be patient, right? And within that goal and being patient, force yourself to do different things, challenge yourself. That's where your growth will be, and people will recognize it. Nobody will. Let me put it to you like this: if an employer sees you delivering something, and you said, "Hey, can I take project 2, 3, 4?" Why would you think they would not give you that? Why? They're getting tremendous value from you. They hired one person, and you got 3% in that one person. Of course, they will give you as long as you deliver. So, to me, this first and foremost, nobody should think they are less fortunate. Because if you can read, write, you can walk and talk, you're very fortunate. That's the very basic understanding of me being fortunate. And then you create, of course, there's an element of luck, is by through sheer hard work. The harder I work, the luckier I get. I'm sure you heard that, right? Focus, create a goal, and then keep asking for things, but learn all the time and deliver. Obviously, you can't say I'm going to do X and you don't do it. You're going to lose your reputation, right? And just again, think of from the other perspective. The employer is always going to say, yeah, sure, I'll give you this opportunity. And that's why I say very fortunate. I keep asking for trouble and I keep getting it in a nice way.
No, this is great. And what I noticed at Mansab, that you have been creating that luck piece for yourself. And let me say it slightly in a different way. I remember when I was in college, in university, I've had bad times as well. I've seen tough times. There was a time when I couldn't pay for my college education and all. And I remember talking to a professor, and I was just complaining. I was like, see all these guys, everyone else in my class, they're fortunate, they're privileged, and nothing much will happen for me because I just don't come from that background. And he said something which I still hold very close to me is bad time is your asset. Use it as an asset. And hold and behold, as in I've used it like an asset and still do it. And what I mean is, for instance, it gave me two things. One is risk taking, because there wasn't much to lose. So I was much of a risk taker than any of the other privileged class fellows I had. And second was, it gave me grit, because you can flip it the other way and you go like, if you have privilege, it is hard to develop grit. But when you have less privilege, it is much easier to develop that grit, which I still make use of in striving, in working hard and all. So working hard is the key element, and this is what you did as well, right? Which is working hard. And if I may, I'll just add one more point. And
Sure.
again, just for the I'm not a big fan of I don't watch a lot of movies, but I do admire Shah Rukh Khan. And I know I'm talking about him, but I admire him in terms of his achievements, where he's come from. And I was listening to one of his interviews, and he said something which was very nice. He said that everyone works hard to get an opportunity, to become lucky, to get that role, get that assignment. But no one works harder than me after getting the opportunity. And which is the kind of the point you made, which is once you get the opportunity, once you get the role, it doesn't stop there. Now you have to work 10 times harder in that assignment in order to prove the point that what you got, what you achieved was the right thing. So it really struck
Absolutely.
by me as again, as I said, I'm not a big movie watcher, but I've read his story and I understand his background and all. And when he said this, it really struck chords with me.
Yeah, he's known for extremely hard work as a hard worker. So the opportunity, you've been knocking on a door, somebody opens the door, what you gonna do? Just stay there? You go in and you show yourself and you deliver. That's what it is, because that's all of us are doing it. I just want to come back to one point you made about if I understood you correctly, less hunger coming from people who are well-to-do. I will take exception to that a little bit. I know at least a couple of people who came from very, very rich family, one Indian, one Pakistani in England, and they have achieved greater things on their own, really. So that is, I would say, it's not a universal truth. It's up to you as an individual, as a human being. What do you want? If you are, not a risk taker, as you said, you're going to achieve something. So there's one place I tell my kids, I've got three grown-up kids. There's one place there's no competition. It's called hard work. You can beat anybody. So you can have all the talent, but if you're not going to work, you're going to achieve anything. So I'll just tell you anecdotally, it's not universal that rich people don't work.
No, you're right. And I remember one of my GMs in Procter and Gamble. He would say uh, when he would compare hard work versus the smart work, because you would always find in P&G, like the company like P&G, hardworking people and smart working people, and he would always say, in the long run, hardworking will always outrun the smart working guy. So in the short run, you'll see the smart working guy doing better, but in the long run, it's the hard work which pays off, and it shows. Anyways, I just want to move to my next question, which is
Sure.
if you can talk about the key skills that you think are crucial or have been crucial for your success, or if it was an advice you would give to someone who's just starting his career, her career, what are the crucial skills that they should have, they should develop for a stellar career like you've had?
Sure. I think my career is still going, so it hasn't finished. But the skill, you know, it's not. I think it's more personal in a way. But if you're going to work, somebody's going to pay you for your work, right? So bring that sincerity. Understand that you're being paid to do a job. So if you bring that sincerity and this hunger to constantly trying to deliver, there's very easy to say I'll do X, Y, Z, but I rather say I'll deliver X and deliver Y, Z with it. Uh, hard work, obviously, and constantly develop yourself. So nowadays it's very easy. When I was growing up, there was no internet, there was no mobile phone, there's nothing really. I'm from that generation. So how do I enamor myself amongst my colleagues, especially with the senior team? By showing the skill set and then punching way above my weight. By how do I do that? If I know, I'll give you an example, really, a very quick one. My first role as a financial controller, I think it was 1999, I think, and it wasn't a big company. It's about $40 million pounds, so let's say $70 million Canadian. And I was very excited and very afraid at the same time. And so I went to my CFO and I said, look, it's my first role as a financial controller. I really want to do well. I understand certain aspect of the job. My skill sets are this missing, the skill gaps. I want to learn. Direct me towards a book, because in those days there was no other things available. Or I would like to do a course. I've done many courses and I still do courses. Now you can do them for free. And he was very helpful. And the reason I think it probably was his nature, but the fact that I took the initiative saying, hey, look, I have gaps. So one thing I'll tell you, people should not do, pretend or position themselves as an expert. You stop learning at expert. Experts don't learn. Experts regress constantly. I'm not an expert in anything. My strength is finance, I would say. But I've never said to somebody, or I would never advise anybody saying, if you've done it for 5 years, you're not an expert. You just have a lot of deep understanding, because that field is constantly changing, right? So how the advice would be: understand your strength, understand your weakness, have the willingness to and work hard and deliver the work. and you will see suddenly paths, doors open up for you.
I agree, and thanks for saying the last part because I've seen for me what has worked is being humble with regards to being very open that I don't know something. Because I've seen when I call it out that I don't know something, people come and help me. So, one, they don't judge me, and second, they come help me. And when I've seen people in a meeting, in a group setting, in a project, they talk about them knowing everything, I don't feel the urge or the responsibility to educate them or teach them otherwise because I've sent one, I sense arrogance, and second, I just sense also the fact that maybe they don't need help at all. And that could be true. But for me, what has worked is even if I've said something wrong, but from a place of humbleness, saying, I'm not an expert, I'm not sure, but this is what I think. People don't take it in a wrong sense. They take it in a right sense and they educate me and they help me get better at it and improve at it. So
And
I,
yeah, no, absolutely agree. And I think what it also does, at least in professional environment, and also amongst friends, I think, is the people see you as somebody who's, you may be very smart, you may have done a better project than themselves, but they can relate to you because you admit the fact that, hey, I don't know X, Y, Z. And I don't know anybody who knows everything about their subject matter. There's no such person, in my opinion. And having traveled the world, I've never seen a, you know, how shall I put it, an oracle. So we have to admit to ourselves that, look, I don't know this, right? And one thing, I think this is an African proverb, be the last person to speak, or something worse to that effect. I remember Nelson Mandela mentioning that in one of his speech, really, and I like that. Uh, and as I became senior in my position, I will say, okay, here's the topic of the meeting, and okay, I'll pick somebody from the room who are, reporting to me. I say, okay, you start, and I'll tell them that you be starting the meeting, and that builds people confidence. And I learned from them because, can you imagine a 20-year-old and a 30-year-old having nowadays a completely different perspective, which I probably don't know even how the world works. Technology, for example, I'm not really good at technology, and they say, no, Mr. Irfan, you can do this, or Irfan, you can do that, and suddenly, oh, great, you taught me something. So that's, I think there's an admission, and I openly admit that I don't know everything. So that opens a lot of doors.
cool, that's powerful. So, Alfonso, moving forward, one other question that I have is how have you adapted to different roles, assignments that you've done throughout your career? And not just different roles and assignments in a particular organization, you've also changed multiple organizations. For instance, for me, I've hardly changed to PNG and then Lego Group, but you've changed multiple organizations and you've moved across the globe as well. How have you adapted to different circumstances, changes, requirements, needs, and how does one become adaptable and learn from your experience?
That's again a very good question, Barrow. I think the fundamental thing I will say is I'm here to learn. Every job I go, I don't really care what position or the title. I'll go meet the team and say, hey guys, I'm here to learn. You've been here before. I know I'm bringing some experience. It may or may not be relevant to our situation. Teach me. I'll talk to them. I'm a great proponent of taking people out for coffee or lunch out of the office. It's a very different type of conversation when you're having in an official environment. So I do that every time I get a position or used to. So I think to me, the important thing is reiterating what I said earlier, right? Admission, not knowing, and then B, willingness to learn, and C, in fact, that C should be first, and which I mentioned before. The only part of ego which works in my professional life is the hunger for learning. All of us have ego. It's a God-given gift. You can use it negatively or positively, really. And I've also, one of the best thing I could say to has happened to me having traveled the 5 continents. I realized there's so many smart people out there, much smarter than me, doing what they're doing. So I would not even pretend that, oh, I'm better than X, Y, Z. So when I see these people doing different things, I say, oh my God, I didn't know that. Right? So be receptive to the idea that there are opportunities and people who will who know better than you, who can teach you things. So have an open mind. Leave your ego at the door. If you really want to get somewhere in your career and learn, unless you're the son or daughter of a boss, leave your ego outside. And that really helps you to uh, uh, you're universally, well, I'll say almost universally liked, and because you're doing more than what you were asked for, and you're constantly learning and looking for challenges. So there's a lot, I think all of those things that I said earlier are culminating at this point. I hope sort of that give you an idea.
No, it does, and thank you for that. But now I have a slightly related question, and as you've said, kind of there, a lot of that you've said is all related as well.
Yeah.
But the question I have is, and probably this is the last question, which is, you did say that there were people who were better than you. But then my question is, one, how do you become better, or how do you become comparative? And the reason I ask this question is coming from a place of imposter syndrome, which is you coming from Pakistan, growing abroad, making a career, making a mark, competing, becoming the best in your field, or trying to become the best in your field. And the reason I ask this question is because it's kind of personal as well for me. So I come from Quetta. It's a small city, and for me, I remember when I was going to Islamabad for my studies, I was very scared in terms of how I would communicate to others. And for the first year, I was not able to make any friends. It might sound very simple to anyone who is in the big city, but for someone coming from a small city, it's a big thing. I remember when I was immigrating to Canada and I decided that I will eventually have a North American career. One of my managers, he said, Americans, it would be very difficult for you to compete because the way they communicate, the confidence they hold in a room, for a Middle Eastern, South Asian, they will crush you like a cockroach.
Hmm.
And so I've always had that imposter syndrome, which is I'm the weaker one, I'm the less confident one, I'm the one with the lowest skills and all. So if you had any of that, how did you overcome that? And if you didn't, if you've seen it, what advice do you have for someone like me 20 years ago?
Okay, again, interesting question. So let me just give you a little bit of history of what where the term imposter syndrome comes from. In the 70s, the ladies in the Western world didn't have much of a role. And there were hardly any directors at the board level. So there was two psychologists who did this survey and wrote a book. And the term imposter syndrome came from senior ladies or a director, a female, were not getting a position. So they felt whenever they got the position, they felt, oh, I've been constantly challenged. The male colleagues were unused X, Y, Z. So they felt imposter. And the reason I mentioned that is really, really important. What's happened in today's world, a lot of terminology has been just bandied and thrown around without actually understanding the context of that, really. So, and the second reason I'm mentioning it, I never felt this because I didn't know the term. So it's a blessing. But the reason I will tell you, the point you made about North American will crush you, that's coming from a very weak mindset. Because if you have confidence and you have ability to learn, as I said to you earlier, hard work will be 10 at any time. And one thing I'll tell you about North Americans, I have worked with them. They're very open-minded. They're looking for people with, certain qualities in the professional space. Can you deliver X, Y, Z? They don't care which color, which creed, which country you come from. If you can deliver, you're in. Look at the United States or Canada. It's just completely mixed. That is not to say there is no racism, but I would say generally, people. I'm from Pakistan. I've been accepted in UK and here. I worked in Amsterdam as well a little bit. So it's all about you training your mindset. If I start thinking, that if I go in a professional setting and the titles are held by a particular type of people, I've already defeated myself. I'm not going to go there. That's point one. And point two about imposter syndrome. If I'm not a doctor, if I pretend to be a doctor, I should be shot. I'm exaggerating to make a point, but I could kill people if I'm, emulating a doctor, which I'm not. So likewise, if you're an accountant and you're saying I am a tech expert, you're creating that pressure on yourself. So do what you, as my son said, do Baba, do you. So I do me. I know my strength. I know my weaknesses. I don't pretend. Uh, but I also understand this. I've read a few articles about imposter syndrome. If you feel at a 20 or 30-year-old that the position you're holding, that you shouldn't be there, look yourself in the mirror and say, look, they have given me the position, so they expect me to, A, they realize I can do it, B, now there is expectation for delivery. Go deliver. Stop thinking I can't do this. You're weakening your own position, right? So the mindset, it's all in the mindset barrels, really. And it's actually, just last point, really, is also linked to ego in a negative way. Uh, if I keep talking to myself in a negative way, saying I'm not this good or not good, my ego is on the floor. My ego has to be at least head level, shoulder level with me, you know. So that's why ego is good and bad.
No, thank you.
Sorry.
I agree with you on the mindset piece. As in, you have to win the battle inside first before you start winning any battles outside. So, anyways, thank you, Irfan Saab. This was lovely chatting with you. Thanks for coming
Thank you.
in and sharing your journey, sharing the experiences, sharing all the learnings and the knowledge. One last question, which is, where can people find you in case they want to reach out to you, connect with you? Where can they find you?
I have a LinkedIn profile. I'm quite active on that. My name is Syed M for Mother Irfan, and you'll find a Rumi's quote on that.
Cool. Thank you. I will leave the link to your LinkedIn profile in the description of this
Yeah.
video as well. And again, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Good to talk to you. Speak later. Bye bye.
Thank you.